we're going to talk a little bit about a story that's been ongoing for the past really several weeks, but it really picked up, I guess, this week, where 3Commas, which is a trading service that allows people to set up trading bots that execute trades automatically on exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, KuCoin, it was found to have leaked some way, or it's expected that, or is suspected that 3Commas, somehow was the service that was leaked. Or breached. It leaked 100,000 API keys connected to exchanges like Binance and KuCoin. And presumably it was this leak or the existence thereof that previously allowed hackers to trade user funds to the tune of at least 20 million, according to victims that I've spoken with. And now the news has come out that the FBI is investigating. I'm not sure if it's 3Commas or just the broader situation itself. But they've contacted several sources that I've been speaking with over the course of this entire debacle to, I guess, get to the bottom of things. And the one really key thing to note here is that the first time I spoke about this story on the show, I think around a month ago, it was because it was unclear what was going on. A bunch of people who used 3Commas found that they had lost money, that their money was getting traded away if they had plugged the service 3Commas into their exchange accounts. And those users are like, hey, clearly you guys leaked our API keys, the stuff that would have allowed traders to do this. And the service itself, 3Commas, and specifically its CEO, were like, hey, no, you were phished. You shared those credentials with a third party without realizing that they were malicious. The users were like, no, there's a lot of signs that that's not the case. And now they have their evidence that they were, in their words, multiple people told me this week that they were quote unquote gaslit. So I'm curious, Jen, Will, what your take is on this situation. Will, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, seeing U.S. agencies get involved with this is definitely an escalation that is probably necessary at this point, especially given the fact that a lot of 3Commas leadership has been a little bit dodgy, to say the least, on the topic. And we've seen Binance come out against it. I haven't seen KuCoin or any other exchanges say anything so far, but Binance is a heavyweight enough to come and tweet about it, with CZ, the CEO of Binance, saying the other day that if you have API keys with 3Commas, you should probably rotate them in order to protect yourself. I think in government agencies, from the US, coming after you is pretty frightening. And we've seen a lot of more aggressive tactics, I would say, lately from U.S. agencies. So we had the Mango Markets guy get taken down by the DOJ the other day. Last month, of course, we had what happened with FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried. I think we're going to see more and more enforcement actions. And this is just the precursor to it, right? So if 3Commas was acting inappropriately, not securing its customer data correctly, then yes, the U.S. government's going to come after them as it pertains to U.S. citizens. And that's an unfortunate place to be as a crypto startup that's just trying to get your product out the door to new customers. So who knows what's in store for 3Commas. Don't want to cheerlead anyone going down, but if they're not acting appropriately, it's only the honest thing to expect more enforcement action against them. But we'll see what happens with it. Jen, over to you.
Yeah, I think this is like another lesson in what you say and your PR strategy, because now everything I hear that comes out of the mouth of the CEO, I just don't believe. After hearing that customers were gaslit for so long and they, provided information, they said, no, this is not the case. We understand what we're doing. We didn't click on any malicious links. And for them to be told, no, you did, and it's not our fault. And now to hear that actually there was a data leak, there was a data breach, and now there's like a little bit of backpedaling going on. I just don't trust anything that they say. There was a tweet in the story from CEO Yuri Sorokin. He said 3Commas stresses that it has found no evidence during the internal investigation that any employees of 3Commas was somehow involved in the attacks against the API data. Again, we can't trust anything he says. So I look forward to seeing what the FBI finds. I think this is another important reminder that if you are operating a centralized company and you are a centralized player, even though you are operating a crypto company, you still need to abide by the rules and regulations. And there are specific data privacy rules and regulations. And it will be interesting to see if those were followed in this case, because at the end of the day, a business is a business, and there are rules to follow if you are not completely decentralized. I think I saw a hand go up, but I don't know. Maybe it was you, Sam?
Yeah. A couple things I realized I didn't mention when I introduced this story. So first thing, it's good, Jen, that you mentioned that tweet where he said it was not basically an inside job. The reason why he had to say that was because, well, first off, it's been suspected for a while by users of this site who were victims of, it turns out, this breach, who lost money. They suspected that it was an inside job. They suspected that somebody from within the company that had access to the logs, these API logs, are the ones who leaked them. And that's not only the reason why Yuri, the CEO, had to come out and dispute this, but also the leaker themselves came out. This anonymous person. We haven't linked to this on CoinDesk, and I actually think that this was taken off of Pastebin where it originally was posted. But the leaker said that essentially they said straight up, 3Commas sold your data. We don't know if that's true. CoinDesk has not vetted that. I have no reason, honestly, to think that it's true at this point, other than the fact that this anonymous person said it. But, that's part of the reason why the FBI is investigating. One other thing that I think is really interesting here is that there's this victim group that now totals about 65 people that I've been in for the past month-ish. It's being led by an individual who actually lost money, who used 3Commas but got refunded by Coinbase because they are part of Coinbase One, which has an insurance program. This person who leads this group interviewed every single one of those 60 plus people, these 60 plus victims, in the lead up to all of this in order to coordinate legal action and so on and so forth, to reach out to the Secret Service, who apparently referred this to the FBI, despite having nothing to gain and being totally, insulted by Yuri on social media and in DMs and such, which is a story I'm writing right now. So it's just interesting that this group came up to kind of ramp up this drumbeat of criticism. So while on one hand, I think that it's certainly admirable that these victims came out and tried to keep the pressure on 3Commas throughout this entire month. On the other hand, if this wasn't an inside job, if Yuri Sorokin, the CEO, and the rest of 3Commas didn't know what happened, I imagine that the past month-ish have been extremely frustrating for them. And for it to cap off with this, it's certainly a lesson in PR and how not to handle it. And I'm not sure they were in a catch-22. Do you admit that you were leaked when you don't know that you were leaked? What do you tell people? It's a tough thing. But anyway, writing a story on that, trying to understand by talking to some experts. Sorry, I see a bunch of nodding. Will, what's up with you?
Yeah, no, I'll just give my last thought on the story. It's definitely an interesting one, and it is hard to know at what point did 3Commas have the correct information, at what point did they not? Because at the beginning of this, they could have thought it was a phishing thing, right? And then later along the line, when it became more widespread, probably would start looking like some sort of security error or security incident that they weren't willing to disclose. And it's really tough to make that call, because sometimes you think that you can handle it internally and make customers whole and don't have to make this whole PR thing. But then sometimes it gets out the door, people get frustrated, and then you have someone like CZ, the CEO of Binance, with I forget how many million Twitter followers, 7 million Twitter followers at this point, tweeting about it. And then your company is in a very, very bad spot. So first, on the PR angle, it's really hard to know when. Last thought on this is, why is the FBI investigating this? I really would like to know who's in charge of these things, because every time there's some sort of crypto scam or a crypto thing going on, we always get these alphabet soup government agencies saying something about it, but I'm never sure who's the right agency to tackle it. I need some sort of breakdown of who does what. Jen, I'll give it to you for last thoughts.
I don't think they even know who the right agency to tackle it is. So I think you'll be waiting a while for that breakdown. Sam, I have a question for you. And if it's putting you on the spot, just tell me and we'll wait for your next story. But I am a sucker for the human stories that come out of stories like this. And I think there are 60 people in the Telegram group. Between the 60 people, $20 million, I believe, was lost. Do you have one of those human stories top of mind that kind of really stuck with you throughout the reporting you've done on this?
Yeah, there's a couple key ones. So the one of the folks who reached out to me is a software engineer at another media outlet. They actually tipped us off to this over a month ago, us being CoinDesk. They just sent something to our tip line. And this person, I spoke to him on the phone yesterday, and it's kind of crazy just to think that, I guess he kind of stands in contrast to another person I'm going to talk about, where for him, over the past month, he lost around $30,000. He kept on checking in with the group. He said that it took a huge toll on his mental health just to feel like, hey, I'm not being heard. Nobody's listening to me. Even though there were CoinDesk stories, there was some criticism on Twitter. He felt like nothing was ever going to get to, be gotten to the bottom of. So there's him. And then there's, contrast him, who, always the entire time was sure, 100% that this was a breach, with another individual that I talked to Monday, who led this group that I mentioned before. He's the one who took time out of his day. He's got kids, a wife. It's the holidays. He says, hours and hours every single week video calling every single member of that 60-person group, despite having already been made whole by Coinbase because of that insurance program. And for him, this was a situation where, he was in DMs with Yuri, so I guess taken aback by the vitriol that he received from him, and this will all be in the story. But he started to think, what if I'm wrong? Yuri is threatening to the CEO, threatening to sue me. What if, even despite all of this mounting evidence, the link between all of these people, all having used 3Commas, those are the ones who were, exploited. What if, I am wrong? And I guess that's textbook gaslighting. And again, sacrificed a ton of time just to try to make things right. I don't know. I'll hopefully that's some story, but I'll try to include some more of it in written form soon enough.